Yeah, I mean, you can make up something too, like just, just give it like a cringe name, like Strong Talks or something.
Hey guys, Neil Toussaint with TrickStrong RX.
This is Eduardo.
It's actually going to be the first episode of the StrongCast where whenever I get a guest has a lot to say about performance and longevity, we're just going to talk and have a good time. We want to talk about technique today, right?
For sure.
Yeah.
So, what questions you got for me? What do you want to know about technique? What do you want to know about my technique?
Well, when we were at Battle of Fury,
Yeah.
we were in the sauna in the compound.
Yeah.
So tight. And you were just talking about how important you thought technique was and how that could prevent a lot of injuries, and what did you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, that's mainly what I focus on, like, when I trick. That's my main goal. Like every time I go for a trick or something, it's all about technique.
Yeah.
Not because, it does look pretty cool, like, it looks really clean and nice, and people just like watching clean tricks for the most part.
For sure, yeah.
But it also makes it a lot easier to do tricks when you have good technique.
Right.
Like, with good technique, you don't have to put that much effort. And for me, like, I like to trick more effective rather than just waste all my power in, like, one small trick, so...
Right.
Like, it's definitely, like, I have to follow, like, a process, but, for the most part, I follow the same process for every trick. And, like, so, let's say I'm learning, I'm learning a new trick or whatever. The main thing, of course, we have to figure out how to do the trick, right? How are you going to land that trick?
Yeah.
You have to understand the trick, so you got to study it.
Yeah.
And once then you got to ask yourself, am I capable of doing that trick yet? Like, does it... Because I feel like you should know, like, once you see it and you understand it, then I feel like you're kind of capable of doing it. Because, like, some people just be rushing stuff. Like, they'll go into gainer, and then they immediately want to learn cork, but they don't even understand how to do, like, just one twist. Like,
right.
So I feel like that's the first step into, like, the process. You got to understand that, like, visually, you got to know what's going on.
Right.
You got to understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then
like
from there,
like, awareness of what you would need to hit, what positions you would need to hit.
Yeah. So, like, it's almost like a natural progression, kind of like, all right, I understand it, so it's the next step of this trick that I've been training forever now. So, like, it's kind of like that. But, once you get that down, then it's, like, training it, but training it safe. Where, like, figuring out, like, all right, so how am I supposed to take off? Like, what parts of my body am I supposed to be using?
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you're doing swings, you don't just want to do, like, power it all with your, like, for me, I swing with, like, my right leg, and I land with my left leg, so I don't want to be doing all the work with my left leg,
Right.
I gotta know, like, and understand what this trick is and what I'm supposed to be using. So, like, I'm supposed to be using my right leg to swing to get most of the power, so...
Right.
You gotta break that down, and then that's when you can start training it safely.
Do you go, like, joint by joint? Like, do you think of, like, oh, I have to, like, think of what my head's doing. Oh, I have to think of this shoulder, shoulder.
Yes. And that's another thing, like, we can go into, because, like, all right, let's say you're doing the trick now, right? And I feel like a lot of trickers, they do want to, like, focus on technique too and want to look clean.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like when they're trying to do that, a bunch of people just focus on one part of their body. Like, I see this in corks a lot. Everybody's trying to do, like, icy cork.
Right.
And they just focus on pointing that toe.
Right.
But then their upper body's, like, all tensed up and stuff.
Yeah.
And, like, you gotta really look at your entire body.
Okay. That
for
makes
technique.
A lot of sense, yeah.
And, like, this helps it look, like, cool and stuff. But your body also, like, you're doing the shape, the entire trick with your whole body, not just two parts of your body, so you got to pay attention to your entire body. But that's, like, also for aesthetics and everything, like...
Yeah.
But, yeah, like, once you're exploring with, like, a new trick, you got to figure out, like, okay, so I think I'm swinging and stuff, but why is it not working? So maybe my hips, I got to study now, like, studying just, and watching other trickers, too.
Yeah.
Studying, like, your technique to kind of the technique you want.
Yeah.
and put it side by side. And if you understand that, then, and that's another thing, like, just understanding movement, I feel like is so important.
Right.
Because if you don't understand the movement and you're just trying to imitate it, it's not going to work out.
What do you mean by understand the movement? Do you mean like from what you were saying, like the joint by joint stuff?
Yeah.
Or do you mean like you have like a feeling of how it would feel?
Both. Because I feel like people sometimes just, they be rushing stuff and they don't really truly like know how it's supposed to feel. Like when I try something, I kind of know what it's supposed to feel like before I try it.
Right.
And that's what gets me to like, okay, I'm gonna pursue this trick now.
Is it like a feeling in your body of like, how would you describe that to somebody? Like if somebody was about to try B-twist for the first time, like how would you try to translate what you're feeling to kind of help with that learning?
So like this is what I do. I always try to find like in my head, this is how I think of it. All right, what's the cousin to this trick? You know, like what trick is related to this trick?
Right.
So like I guess for B-twist, something I would do, I don't think I did it this way, but like, because I don't even remember how I learned B-twist, it's been so long, but but something I would do is like, let's
I was like, wait, I don't remember my first B-twist,
but like something I would do, I guess, would be like, let's say I'm training backside 9, right? And I'm like, you know, getting pretty good at it, really comfortable, and I'm staying vertical. And the next step, I'd be like, I wonder if I could kind of lean a little bit on that backside 9. And then slowly, like, B-twist is kind of the same concept. You're still doing one twist and stuff, but off one leg, and then you're using, like, other parts of your body. Like, you're using your right leg to kind of push up, you know, and you got to dip a little bit. But slowly transition to that. So kind of like, okay, I'm used to doing that one twist vertical. Now I just got to figure out how I can do it sideways and feel comfortable with that. So what I would do is first do like a backside 9, like kind of slanted, because I'm comfortable with that. And then like slowly start like including like B-twist techniques to it slowly and just progressing. And that's what I mean by knowing the feeling that it's like, oh, okay. So I think
that would be a amazing, I mean, even just, yes, from a coaching standpoint, but even just from a learning standpoint, if you're on your own, just thinking in that way and training in that way, is that something you got from like martial arts, or like why did you train that way when you were starting? Like
that's how I relate
stuff to other
that's
things,
how like that's how I train now. Still, I don't think it came from martial arts. I think it just came from me just like I don't know, just figuring out things I was on my own in grass, you know, and I was hungry for tricks. So I was just like, I got to figure out how to train safe because I only had grass. So the safest way was just to like, okay, what trick is kind of related to this trick? And then I just kind of convert that trick into this new trick.
And honestly, that's amazing, because then you can piece together all those different nuances between tricks. And like get the aesthetic and the efficiency you want, like regardless. So.
And then like, so like that'd be like the first steps for, you know, learning the trick, I guess. And then finally you get it down and you land it. And of course, like your first attempts are shit. Are you supposed to say?
Yeah, that's cool. We'll figure it out.
All right. You know, like your first attempts are going to be really bad. So, but then it's like gaining that muscle memory. Like, because I feel like muscle memory is also like a big part of So you gotta drill until like, all right, I'm comfortable doing it. I'm not thinking about it that much. And then once you're not thinking about it that much, then you can, the one thing I focus on is my landing first. That's the first thing I try to make sure I'm landing, like, if I can, 1 foot at a time, like, you know?
When you land, what are you thinking with your feet, or what do you think of like from the bottom up?
So, in order for me to have a good landing, I have to have a good takeoff, you know? Like, but sometimes, like, figuring out that takeoff is also, like, especially for B-twist, like, that's a really unnatural way for me to take off, because I usually take off my right leg, but I B-twist. Like, my natural way of taking off, like, is with my right leg. Right?
Okay, yeah.
But I B-twist. Since I trick to my left, I B-twist with, and I take off with my left leg, so that's like, things like that, like, kind of I struggled with a little bit, but you know, I gotta make sure I take off good, and then my landing is the main thing I focus on at the beginning of, like, every time I'm trying to like figure out how to do a trick, because like the end goal of every trick I learn is to make it as efficient and easy and aesthetically pleasing as possible, you know. That's like my main goal in just everything I do in tricking.
Right.
But that's the whole process. So I'll focus on the landing, and then like when I can finally land like comfortable, chest up, because you know, when you first land a trick, everybody usually lands with their chest down, like.
Right.
But you know, you gotta work your way up to where you're landing chest up, and like I like to land like 1 feet at a time, like.
Yeah.
And just gaining control on that, because I see also a bunch of trickers where they land the trick and they're already trying to add a variation, even though they're like struggling with just doing the trick by itself. Yeah. So I don't recommend doing that.
Yeah.
That's not what I do. So I just focus on the landing mad hard first, and then once I'm comfortable with that, it's like, all right, I still look really bad while I'm in the air.
Right.
But my landing is good, so
yeah.
How can I fix this part now? So then it's, all right, I got to go all the way back again, and now focus, and then again study. Put a clip side by side, and it's like, oh, so that's when they take off, they do this thing with their shoulders and their hips. And then it's back to like step one again, drilling. And then, but you feel more comfortable because you have all this muscle memory and stuff. So now the risk of injury is less.
Yeah.
So, because you've already done the trick, you just did a really bad version of it. But now you're comfortable with the motion and everything. So like, that step is pretty fast for the most part, for me at least.
Yeah.
I figure it out like usually in like 1 or 2 sessions. Like, oh, okay. Now it's looking a little bit more prettier, so...
Right, but it's cool that you, like, put it through this process multiple times before you move on.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of, like, rinse and repeat and, like, make sure that you've got it. And that seems to be a faster way to progress, too. Like,
honestly, the process that takes the longest is the beginning, you know, just figuring out...
foundation and stuff.
But, and then after that, if you really drill at the beginning, the next steps are just so much... quicker.
Right.
It might sound like it's a lot, but like literally 1 or 2 sessions, you just figure it out. It's like, oh, okay, it clicks.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'll even discover like, oh, if I just do this at the beginning, then it just makes it even a lot easier.
Right.
And like at first you're trying to force yourself into going into certain positions, but after drilling it so many times and you're actually like, you study other people, and then you kind of figure out like, oh, my body naturally just likes this better.
Yeah.
And then you won't be even forcing yourself that much.
I think that's really important to, like, for me, I didn't think like that in the beginning. Like, I know I just thought of landing the trick and, like, did I land it? And then after that, did it look cool or whatever? But I'm not thinking about that other stuff, like how to recycle that. And use that energy.
And it's just that process, and, like, it's literally just... it repeats all over it, because then it's like, all right, I have the trick by itself now, kind of looking good. So, you know, with tricks you can do so much, right? Because like the next step could be swinging out of that trick, or comboing out of that trick, or vanishing, like. So then it's just, you got to go back to step number 1 again. So how do I land it this way and like do this trick out of it? But those, when you go back again, like, because for me, it's like all about drilling, right? The more you drill, just the more you ingrain that motion in your head, you know, like your muscles. So like these steps, when you go back again, it just, you progress so much faster. It's like, oh, I just figured out. It's just so easy.
Right.
And like, it really doesn't take the whole session to figure it out, you know? You can just start the session with that, and then later, like, because one thing I like to do, especially when I'm working on like, you know, trying to perfect a trick or something, I'll usually like do that trick for like the first 15, 20, 30 minutes of the session. And then I do this thing where it's like, all right, now I have to combo out of this trick for the rest of the session, or combo and throw that trick in between the combo, or like end the combo with this trick. And it's just like, it's just more drilling, and it's building more muscle memory, and like, that's really what helps, you know, like just the drilling, and then, because I feel like if you don't drill enough, it's just not, and you're moving on to the next steps. You're not
forming those patterns. And honestly, like, that's exactly how I've learned how to teach as far as like PT school. Like we talk about like motor control, motor learning, like what are the scientifically like the best ways for us to learn. And a lot of that stuff is what you've been saying, like
just repetition,
but varying stuff. Like so doing it before or after, like comboing in or comboing out of things, like teaches you the variability between different parts of the trick, and then you learn more things about it and how you can change it more and more. So like everything you're saying makes a lot of sense from like a scientific standpoint too.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like it's just so much risk. Like you lower the risk of getting injured.
Totally. Yeah.
Too, and like for me it's just such an efficient way to train.
Right.
And like you just progress so much faster, and it's easier to figure out things too. Like, because at the beginning it's kind of confusing. You have so many tricks, and you don't even, especially if you don't have any background in martial arts or gymnastics or nothing like that, then it's just like you're so confused. But once you get the drilling down, that's why, like, especially if you're a beginner and you don't have no background, drilling is so important.
Yeah.
But once you get that muscle memory ingrained in you and stuff, then that's when you can kind of like grab other tricks like as a reference. It's like, oh, so this trick is similar to this, but I just got to go like a little bit more vertical or more inverted, and then you can just transition one trick's technique to another one. Yeah. And then like kind of cheat off that. So it's almost like you're cheating in a way.
Yeah.
Like, or at least that's how I look at it. It's like, all right, I got to find the cheat for this trick. So,
that makes a lot of sense.
And you just kind of cheat your way. Once like you have like, because for me I try to like mess with everything, right?
Right.
But I do have my strengths and weaknesses still. But especially for my weaknesses, how can I make something that's my strength kind of like
supplement?
Yeah, something that is my weakness. Like, what can I do to think about this trick in another way?
Yeah.
And that just makes it
like
so
in
much
a way
easier.
that's like just better for you. Something that has worked for you. Yeah. So like, what's an example like?
I'm trying to think of a trick that I was just like, how can I look? Well,
what about the aerial mega? Was that?
So the aerial mega, that's something that I'm messing. Cause like for me, it's just like I said before, it's just so unnatural to take off my left leg, cause that's just not my dominant leg. But I think with that trick, like I said before, I still gotta explore with it more. I gotta get more used to that muscle memory, cause I don't do tricks like that. I don't do mega landings or anything. So that's something I'd have to like literally take a whole session to like kind of figure out the motion first and everything, and kind of visually understand it.
Like, would you use like cartwheel, like cart mega?
Yeah, cart mega, and then like study myself, and then like, I feel like if I do, cause that's another thing. Like that's a trick I never drill or really put effort into. So like, that's why it makes sense that I'm not gonna get it first try.
Of course, yeah.
So that'd be another trick where I'd have to like start from that process.
Over.
Yeah. So like like even if you're at a higher level of tricks, there's still like that process is always there.
It doesn't go away, but you have the steps and the methods that like not only help you learn faster but safer and all those other things like.
So
I think that's really cool.
It's like the cheat code.
Yeah, that's awesome. Have you felt like there was a time where you're like, oh, I'm lucky I had technique because that would have been bad otherwise?
Yes, dude. Like, just sometimes I feel like, especially when I'm tricking like in sketchy like areas, like let's say it's wet or something, I'm like, I'm so glad for my technique right now, because that could have gone terribly wrong.
Right, like you don't slip as much, like you're in control of your momentum in your body.
Yeah, like, or I'll be spotting, like, because I spot a lot, because it's just less scary that way. I know where I'm at. Right. And sometimes I'm so glad I do that, because I'm like, oh, there's a hole right there. All right, I'm prepared though. I'm prepared to land it, so I don't get injured. Yeah. So technique really comes in clutch sometimes, and it just makes tricks so much easier. Like, a lot of people think like, oh, he's just tricking for the aesthetics, but like, yeah, I am, but it's also so much easier on my body. Right. It takes so much less effort. Like, it's not. And that's my whole goal right now, to make a trick the most like the effortless
Easiest
possible way.
yeah.
Like even now, like I'm still like tricks that I've been drilling for like years now. I'm still trying to figure out how can I make this even easier.
Yeah. That's a great way to think about it too, because that forces you to. It's not like, oh, did I land with a way, like in a certain position or a way. It's like, how did it feel? That's a really good way to assess your tricks. That's like different. Like I hadn't thought about it like that. Like how easy does this feel? And I have been noticing, for example, like I've been working gainers and stuff recently. Like it just feels way easier, and it doesn't like I don't feel the force. Yeah, I can do more of them. Doesn't make me sore. It makes me feel like better, if anything. Like, and like that's just through improving the technique through the exercises and all that. But
and then sometimes it's like some of these tricks are just common sense sometimes.
Yeah.
Like
what?
Like even the name is just common sense, and you just don't even realize like swing tricks. You're literally supposed to swing.
Yeah.
Like I didn't get that at the beginning. I was like,
I think most people don't, honestly. Like,
yeah. Like this whole time, like I just been it looked like I was swinging because I was bringing my leg up.
Yeah.
But like I was not swinging at all. I was just forcing everything with my left leg. And like, I remember I just figured, I was like, oh, I remember I kicked a soccer ball once and I missed it, but I was like kicking it so hard that I still flew and like the momentum lifted me.
Okay.
And I fell. Wow. And I was like, wait, is this what people mean by swinging? And then I went to do like touchdown raise gainer.
Yeah.
And I got so much like air time, and I was like, I can do gainer switches, right? And then that day I did like 6 gainer switches.
That was your first
time? I was like, whoa, this is crazy. Okay, so that's what they mean by swings. Okay. And like
that's crazy.
Yeah, like I said, like some names, it's just common sense, like gainer switch. I feel like people are just trying to like switch and not gainer first. Like you're supposed to gainer and then switch. That's just the name of it, and I'm like, oh.
That makes sense for sure.
Yeah, like it's just some things are really common sense, and you're just like maybe thinking, or you're just not used to like moving your body that way, but like.
Yeah, but
some things are for sure just common sense.
So I've noticed that when you land, you tend to like you don't fully get onto your heels. Is that something you do intentionally, or?
Yeah, because it's just easier. I like to land soft. I don't like to land hard because it hurts.
Yeah.
So, and also injuries have taught me that it's just so much better.
Okay.
I tore a meniscus, and then I had to even land like better. You know.
Yeah.
So like injuries help me kind of too, like. Because sometimes you get impatient tricking,
right?
Like, or
impatient
with injuries, and you still want to trick. So, you gotta be smart, you know. And sometimes, for me, it's kind of been beneficial. I wouldn't recommend it, but like it's been beneficial sometimes tricking while injured, just because. But I'm also like doing reasonable stuff. I'm not going out there and like. I wonder if I can land triple cork while my meniscus is injured. Like no.
Right.
I'm just gonna do like. I wonder if I can just do like cork. All right, maybe I can do cork, swing cork.
Right. I mean, the process like naturally kind of goes like that. Like you know, you have to start. Yeah. You have to start somewhere, or else like you're not gonna get back. So you have to start like weaning yourself into it and stuff, and being smart about that process and that return is like, I think, a really good way to prevent injury as well. Of course. Mm-hmm. But I think people kind of just rush back to their full level like immediately. Yeah,
it's not good.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing things the same way. If you can't, for me at least, I can't trick the same way I tricked before I was injured. If I'm gonna trick while I'm injured, you know.
Yeah.
I gotta be.
You gotta
like.
Figure out why.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta be more aware too. Like my air awareness has to be like. Double of what it was before I was injured, because.
Yeah.
I gotta know where I'm landing.
Those are things that I feel like people don't necessarily realize. Like, yes, you can strengthen, yes, you can do all those other things, but you have to like train those movement patterns in your head, and like, and how else do you build that air awareness? Like, do you visualize a lot? Do you use a trampoline?
Visualize and trampoline. Like trampoline is just a good hack.
That's your main.
That's like the.
Do you use use that a lot for a new trick?
Yeah, that's like when you're testing, and then they're like, you can use notes on this test. Trampoline is like that. It's like, okay, because on trampoline you can do whatever and bail as many times, and it was just eventually like if you're really like serious about learning a technique,
Right.
you can figure it out on tramp.
Yeah.
You got enough time in the air to figure out and like readjust and do whatever, and you know you have so many unlimited amount of tries on tramp. Where on floor it's like after maybe the fourth time, you know, your knees, your elbows, whatever it is that you're landing on is like, all right, bro, I can't do more of these landings. But
so do you do like garden tramp or?
yeah, just garden tramp, and then I sometimes it's like I mess around, because that's another cool thing about trampoline is that you can develop different techniques for just one trick.
For one trick.
For one trick.
Yeah.
Like you can, it's like, oh, what if I do it this way? Like say you're doing a double full, you can develop so many techniques where like you can do like, you can wait till you're inverted to rip the twist,
right.
or you can twist once up as you're going up and then once down as you're going down, like, or you know you can do both twists on your way up and then just flip as you go. So you can develop so many, and that's the hack for it, because like you get the freedom to do that on tramp. Where on floor you don't really have that.
No, everything, you know, it just makes so much sense. It's like the more aware you can be at all times and in all situations with the trick, obviously it's going to translate to being able to take off and land better and reduce risk of injury and look better.
People should really just take advantage of that, because that's like, and you're ingraining that muscle memory still, because on tramp you can drill even more times. You get less tired, you have more opportunities to bail and stuff, so like that muscle memory, it'll still like translate to floor, you know. Of course you got to be a little bit more quicker and stuff, but like you're still building that muscle memory, so it's not like, oh, but you're just doing a trampoline or anything, that's not gonna help. No, it'll definitely help. Like, so definitely it's a big tool that every tricker should definitely have.
Yeah. All right. Last few questions. Do you do any calf specific workouts or anything like that? I mean, your calf's pretty crazy, so.
I used to do, so there was this one time where I was just like, I want to have the strongest legs in the world.
Okay.
And I'd go really hardcore on calves, like, I don't know how many I would do. I would do calves until failure, and then like let them regenerate for a little bit and then keep going until failure again. And then I'd get in the shower, and then sometimes I'd be like, I'm not gonna dry myself with a towel. I'm gonna do calf raises until I'm dry.
That's hardcore. Yeah.
And it's just regular calf raises, nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just a lot of
body weight. It was just body weight too.
Yeah.
So
cool. And you notice that helps you with the tricks.
Maybe doing a lot of kicking drills too, because I feel like when I kick, I flex my calf, like, and I think that activates other calf muscles.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I see a bunch of Taekwondo people that have big calves, and I think it's also
probably the hopping.
Maybe
as
too.
well, like some sparring and stuff. But
Any
last things to add?
Just trick as easy as possible. You know, make tricks look effortless and effective.
Yeah.
And if you're just starting out with tricking, and you've never done anything like this before, you're not an athlete, then you got to build your body for it too. And if you don't know how to do that, then you can check out your stuff.
Thank you. Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's really important, especially if you don't have the mobility or the strength, and you feel it in your movement and your tricks too, in what your limitations are. And if you don't have these tools, then it's going to be really hard to get to that next level. Yeah. So I totally agree.
All right, man.
Thank you. Thanks so much for being first guest on the StrongCast.
This is fun.
Yeah.
Talk for hours.
We probably continue. All right, guys. Till next time.